started off as a PG podcast, but then Devin just kept on dropping shits and fucks, and now...
That's right. We are live.
The ghost faced himself, Brandon Tanev.
This isn't like the start of last season when it was just, it looked like the Canucks were just a beer league team not playing defense at all. And just before Chris goes, no, I'm kidding, Chris, you can actually go now.
no, hold on.
Oh, we have to give more time for coming on late. So.
I still had, hold on. All right. Chris go, and then I got something else to say at the end.
So an elf and a midget in 2 back-to-back games. He's definitely on a friendship tour for sure.
Saying, oh yeah, I'm okay with him being, the 6'7" defenseman. No, he is a AHL defenseman right now.
Look, Shonky, don't mind Devin, okay? We all struggle with Devin, so you know.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Shifts and Pucks podcast, afternoon edition. You can, of course, follow us on Twitter at Shifts and Pucks, Facebook.com Shifts and Pucks, YouTube.com Shifts and Pucks, Twitch.com Shifts and Pucks. Subscribe wherever you get your audio, rate, review, all of that sort of stuff, as well as on the Area 51 Sports Network, as we're here to recap. One of the more significant playoff wins in Flames franchise history, and with a 4-1 victory over the Dallas Stars, the first time in this entire series that someone has a 2-goal lead without getting the empty netter. Hello, Devin. How are you?
I'm good. It's good to be on talking about a W.
We're going to give away a W today because that's what we do when the Flames win. We give away W's because that's what impresses us. W's. And we'll get into a lot of the game here. We'll walk through this as I am multitasking. But first of all, 2 things. Let me go backwards. Did what I say make sense? Is the first time that someone had a 2-goal lead without adding an empty netter? Did that make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
I followed you.
All right. And second, would you agree that this was one of the more significant wins in playoff franchise history?
In recent playoff franchise history. I think if you go back to 2004 and Jelena clinching 3 out of the 4 series, there's some very, very important ones there, just with the state of the franchise at that point, because in the early 90s, late 90s, early 2000s, Calgary, the Flames weren't doing too good until the Red Mile and that playoff streak happened. But it definitely resonates, has a ripple effect to this Game 4 against the Dallas Stars for sure.
I mean, in terms of just, for me, the way that I looked at it is because of what all went down this season, the expectations that went through this season, the scars that the fan base has been through. You couldn't go down 3-1. It just that to me, it was that simple in my mind. But that's why I think it was significant. We'll go through all of that. And then and we also, after every game, we do a poll about how we rate the performance. And we've done this after every one. We'll put this later. We're going to start from the beginning. We're going to try to do this like it was a story, because there was a little bit of layers to this level here. And the first part 1 was, let's go from the beginning. And actually, let's actually take this a little bit even further back, because I want to talk about Jamie Benn, but even the prologue of this was the Brett Ritchie, Daryl Sutter troll job. So Brett Ritchie was listed in the morning skate as on the second line. He was playing with Backlund and Toffoli. Reporters were starting to speculate something that maybe you look analytically, the fourth line was getting ventilated. So maybe you want to put Brett Ritchie on the second line because of that. And I don't know, Devin, maybe it was me. I'm not the smartest guy in the room. I never try to claim that. But I could see that it was already what we call a Jedi mind trick was already going on from Daryl Sutter. There was no way they were putting Brett Ritchie on the second line.
You know what? Brett Ritchie is held in high regard with Daryl Sutter. Always has been and always will be. He's a Daryl Sutter meat and potatoes type of hockey player. If he was up there on that second line, I definitely wouldn't be surprised if that was going to be the case. But to start the game at least, and maybe during sending a message to Majipani that he needs to tighten up his skates, maybe just a bit tighter, and really put his work boots on to get to work, because I haven't been overly enamored with Majipani's play, and I didn't see it as a troll job until it actually happened. But that was my first impression, anyways.
Because the morning, and then the pregame skate goes on, and Brett Ritchie is on there, and then lo and behold, Michael Stone enters the chat, and Michael Stone replaces Brett Ritchie. They go 11 forwards and 7 defensemen. Michael Stone takes 8 shots on goal in the first 2 periods. Michael Stone kills penalties. Michael Stone does what I think what is expected of Michael Stone, and the Flames, just in terms of this part of it, the record, playoff record or close to a playoff record without overtime shots. They fired 50 shots at Jake Ottinger, 8 of them from Michael Stone. And I think it was really what we talked about, a lot of what Michael Stone is. It's a bit of a chaos project on both ends. He causes chaos for the opposing team. He causes chaos for the Flames, though, as well, because his shot is, you don't know where his shot is going to go. And the chaos project helped a bit.
I loved it. I'm surprised we didn't even think about this on our last podcast of going 11 forwards and 7D.
I thought Dan brought it up.
I don't remember he did, but he could have. He definitely could have. Either way, the fact is that we saw Michael Stone come in, did not see any other defense come out, and we saw Brett Ritchie come out. I love the fact that he has some diversity on that defense, bringing in a heavy shot, a big player who can hit in Michael Stone, and still having the skill set of a Oliver Shillington or a skill set of a Nikita Zadorov, because I thought Zadorov had a pretty good game as well. I didn't expect Michael Stone to get 8 shots. I didn't expect him to be I was hoping that if he did get in the lineup that he'd be dropping Stars players like he did and make them feel that shot and make them afraid of that shot, because that they're going to be trying to block it because it is so heavy. But he got some through from the point, which was really good. They weren't too high. They were about chest height for Ottinger. But overall, I would love to see them go back to this 11-7 split, because that obviously gives more time for a player to get double shifted. And for the majority of the time, I saw Toffoli out there with Lucic and Lewis. And I thought that Toffoli had a pretty damn good game. I think just a tangent, just a little bit within that Toffoli will actually have a breakout game here. He got robbed twice by Jake Ottinger. The first one was that toe drag, which was unbelievable that he was able to get that shot off on that angle. And then his beside the net, he actually had a really, really good shot there to get it in. But Ottinger, obviously, with the 10-bell save, which was really good. But going back to the defensive core and Michael Stone, I think it'd be really, really weird if Daryl Sutter went away from this lineup.
Yeah, I would think that they're going 11-7, but we'll see. I mean, I think there was, we discussed the idea of maybe Stone for Good Branson as a possibility. I think there was that discussion, I think, in general, but I seem to remember that Dan brought it up a small wee, and I don't think we really acknowledged it, but I feel like Dan brought it up. Anyway.
We'll have to roll that tape back.
We'll roll the tape. check it out on the other podcast and let us know. But yeah, so I think that was that whole thing. I thought, in getting Michael Stone in the lineup, I would foresee 11-7. By the way, just on another tangent, remember how we talked about Noah Hannafin having 5 giveaways in Game 3? Combined, 7 defensemen, 3 giveaways, 2 by Rasmus Andersson, 1 by Eric Goodbranson. Tanev, no giveaways. Zadorov, no giveaways. Hannafin, no giveaways. Shillington, no giveaways. It's Stone, no giveaways.
Yep. That shows that they were able to get the puck out of the defensive zone a good majority of the time. I know in that the second game, or was it the third? Either way, one of the two, they would have a hard time getting out of their defensive zone, making that first pass. The puck was bouncing. I think it was the second game because I was still in Calgary at that point. But it seems like they've really been able to. It's even up to the forwards to put themselves in the proper positions to help out the defensive core and getting that breakout pass going. Because, man, if you're struggling to do that, then it makes it a hell of a lot harder to have that momentum going into the offensive zone. And talk about giveaways as well on that blue line. We talked about that last game. The fact that they were able to keep pucks in. Noah Hannafin on the Elias Lindholm goal did a great job keeping the puck in because it looked like it was almost out. Michael Stone on his first few shifts, he kept the puck in and pinched pretty well. So honestly, like the effort that they put in, it really showed and it really paid off.
Yeah, and you're right, and I think that's a great point about, especially, as I tried to start with chapter 1, and then we just go everywhere, to move around in the book. But that 5-minute shift where they pinned in, that was one of the reasons why they were able to keep the way the defensemen kept the puck at that opponent blue line was part of the reason. Like Dallas did everything they could to try to get it out, but Rasmus Andersson and Noah Hannafin were saying, "No, thank you, not today. We're going to keep this in here."
Yeah, and that was apparent that some of the bounces that they had the first 3 games before that weren't really advantageous for the Flames, and it just didn't seem like that would continue, and that they definitely were able to basically exercise that demon within the game, and like I said, it paid off.
Yeah.
Sorry, I think it's my fault that we're all over the place because I just kind of go on tangents.
It's totally fine. I think there was some important stuff to get in there, but the second part of the prologue was Jamie Benn, and Jamie Benn was asked yesterday before the game because he challenged Matthew Tkachuk to a fight. Matthew Tkachuk declined, and Jamie Benn was asked about that, and Ben said he's a smart boy. So what do the Flames do? So Jamie Benn starts at center. It is Milan Lucic that takes the opening draw. And Milan Lucic and Jamie Benn. And Milan Lucic asks Jamie Benn to fight. And by the way, I'm going to say this. Jamie Benn rightly said no. But I think it established a couple of things here. This time, it established the fact that Milan Lucic again doing his role, and Milan Lucic, one of the more intimidating players in the game right now. And I don't think that Jamie Benn has been particularly awesome in this series, but this is his line from yesterday: 4 penalty minutes, 1 shot on goal, 2 hits, 2 blocks. I don't think that that's a Jamie Benn line. That's what if you're the Dallas Stars and you want success in this series, you can't have Jamie Benn 4 penalty minutes, 1 shot on goal, 2 hits, 2 blocks, and $10,000 in debt because he got a second fine for a trip on Trevor Lewis.
I was trying to find that trip and I couldn't find it, and
I couldn't find it either.
I don't remember that trip whatsoever either. But either way, yeah, Jamie Benn, he really hasn't been the Jamie Benn that we've known since about, I want to say 2018-19, right around there. So it's been about 4 years since he's really been that effective on at least as points go. And I think that he knows that now, and so he's trying to get in Tkachuk's head. And I'm so happy that Tkachuk was able to stay out of that shit this game. And I know that's a part of his game, but I think he was getting really distracted by that narrative of, okay, well, I'm going to be a shit disturber, when I think that that's exactly what Dallas wants, because Dallas isn't that 5-on-5. Dallas isn't as good as the Calgary Flames. And last night definitely showed it. So that's why Jamie Benn is trying to get in his grill. And good on Lucic for, first of all, taking that draw. And I don't know if he's just he was egging him on for sure. But after I'm sure after Jamie Benn started skating away, he's like, okay, well, remember this, because if you start fucking around with my star players, I'll be right on you.
And I think I completely agree. And I don't think I don't think he was completely effective. I think that was the first time that Dallas was kind of taking off their game at the start. As far as Matthew goes, I still think we need more. 3 giveaways, 2 hits, 2 shots on goal. He got an assist, 2 penalty minutes. I still think we need a little bit more from Matthew Tkachuk going forward here.
Absolutely. I think it was a good step in the right direction of just focusing on the game and not the game inside of the game, keeping things simple. And usually, he's being effective when he takes pucks away from people. And he had none of that last night. And that's why I think also that if you do go back to 12 forwards and 6D, or either way, even if it is 11 forwards, 7D, give Tyler Toffoli some time on that top line. I truly believe he is on the brink of breaking out and getting off this slump, and he's going to start scoring again and get that confidence rolling. And at the same time, bring back Tkachuk a little bit onto that backline line and keep things simple. Because I feel like maybe being on that top line, you're kind of trying to be more creative than you have to be, and especially with having Backlund and let's say Coleman on that line with Tkachuk, then those guys and those 2 players are very much simple-minded players. They don't try to do anything crazy. It's always make the simple play, and I think that's what's Tkachuk, to get him back to the Tkachuk we know and love as Flames fans. I think that's the way to do it. Keep things simple, get pucks deep, and not worry about the flashy stuff. And and I truly believe that if he does that, he'll come back to his normal form.
Well, it's interesting because there was Corey Sarge and Ryan, and friend of the show Ryan Pinder brought this up, that the Backlund, Majipani, Toffoli line doesn't really work for Toffoli because they're not. I think you're saying the same thing. They're not the type of players that Toffoli can work with, but yet I thought he was really effective. Foley was really effective with Trevor Lewis and Milan Lucic. And I was trying to remember who was that. It wasn't that 70s line. It was Toffoli and Pearson, and I can't remember whoever the center was. I believe it was Jeff Carter. Right now that I remember that, but he had 6 shots on goal yesterday. I agree. I think tossing Toffoli up with Lindholm and Gaudreau, I think might work, and I think it just gives a different look. And I do agree with you. He's close. I really do think he's close.
It works for both players, for both Toffoli playing with the playmakers of Lindholm and Gadreau. And then, Tkachuk can just focus on his game. That and it's not like he doesn't know Backlund. He's been playing with Backlund pretty much his entire career until last year, near the end of it, because Daryl Sutter finally put that Lindholm, Gaudreau, Tkachuk line together. But you need to get Toffoli going. You have to. And I love the fact that he was mostly being double shift, as far as I remember from last night, on that fourth line, and being sprinkled in here and there with other lines, especially with Majipani only having 2 shifts in that third period as well. And we'll get to him a bit later, but I think it'll work well for both those players.
Yeah. My other thing with Kachuk that I wanted to touch on, though, and this will probably blend in for Gaudreau, but it was the second period before that 5-on-3. It was Gadreau and Kachuk were passing it to each other, and I'm like, for the love of God, would just one of you shoot? This isn't Oprah. You get a pass. You get a pass. You get a pass. One of you just shoot the damn puck, please. Seriously, one of you.
Yeah, and it's so easy to have that mindset as a fan, especially when pucks aren't going in, right? It took a long time for Ottinger to finally squeak one. Well, it wasn't even a squeaker; it was a hell of a shot by Anderson, and it was on that 5-on-3. But if it doesn't feel right for the player, then it doesn't feel right for the player. But I definitely understand the thought process, and I mean, it's not like they had a lack of shots or anything last game.
No, they did get 50 shots, and Johnny had 6. So nothing there. But scary moment in the first 5 minutes, which I think was a significant part of this game, was Vladimir Nemestikov hit. He got a check to the head penalty for 2 minutes, and nothing else. Gadreau went to the bench, went to the dressing room, came back, and obviously was fine.
He had one shift, by the way, before he went to the quiet room.
Yes. Okay. Supposedly. Yeah. One shift, locker room. Calgary's all in kind of what's the word you use? Butt puckered.
Oh yeah, butt puckering. Yep.
Yeah. There. Yeah. Yeah. I as far as the hit, I don't think it needed to be anything more than a 2-minute checking than what it was. I'm glad that the Flames, I mean, I think maybe it's different if Johnny is out for the rest of the game, rest of the series, all of that. Maybe that's a different mindset, but I'm just glad we leave it there and then just move on. I don't, can deal with Nemestikov next year.
You definitely can. I think that he was targeted a little bit. I forget who it was, but I feel like the few shifts after that,
went after him once, and I think Lucic went after him once too.
Yes, and it's more so, don't do that. Don't hit our star player. I'm happy nothing else came of it, and I agree with you that just having a 2-minute penalty was enough. I don't think it was malicious. I was telling you before we came on that it's just more so it was a quote unquote clean check. It just was unfortunate that Johnny's head was in the way of and being smaller than Nemestikov, but Nemestikov's shoulder hit his head, and that was the whole thing. So I don't think there's anything else.
Yeah, agree with you there. Then the Flames are on their game. Then it becomes, but I guess we do need to talk about the officiating here a little bit. Maybe this is the time to bring it up because it was, I haven't really thought that the officiating has been very bad in this series overall. I think most of it has been, most of the things I would agree have been penalties, but I thought there was a couple of soft calls. I thought Noah Hanifin's hold that he got called for in the first period, that was a bit soft. And then I specifically to the penalty shot, I think it's a penalty. Sure, I would grant that. Penalty shot, I wasn't entirely sure. I wasn't entirely there, but
what made you think that? Why weren't you entirely there?
He got ahead. I felt like Klingberg was more. It just looked like more of an awkward desperation play than it did like anything like it. I thought Klingberg stumbled his way into a hook. Really, is what it looked like to me. I guess you could make the argument. I guess from what I'm saying there, I mean, it's a take your pick. But I didn't feel like it was a blatant. I don't think it was a blatant impede, but it was an impede. It wasn't impede enough to me to say, yeah, probably a penalty. Penalty shot. I've always thought if it's a penalty shot, it needs to be a bit more egregious of what Klingberg did.
The reason why it was a penalty shot is because Johnny he broke free. He was away, and the fact that Klingberg's a tall guy and he has a long stick. He was reaching in and clipped Johnny Gaudreau's hands, which impeded Johnny Gaudreau to finish his move or even shoot. But if Klingberg did not hit his hands, then I think that's a clean play. But the fact that Johnny was not able to shoot or deke during that time, through that whole play, then I think it was 100% the right play or the right call.
I'm generally one that, usually if one of you guys come up and tell me I'm wrong, I'm like, okay, I could be wrong. I got this tweet after because someone on Twitter felt that was chatting with me and suggested that it was a soft, and I said I agree, but then someone else, Oilers, a really smart Oilers fan, like she really is, said a pretty blatant attempt to hook or impede the play on a breakaway. I mean, the execution wasn't great, but Gadreau couldn't get the shot away. So,
yep.
Yeah. So there you go. But before that, you had the 5-on-3, and I'm dare going to say something bold and ridiculous, but that was probably one of the more important 5-on-3s in this franchise's history. I mean, you had to score there. You were throwing everything at Jake Oettinger, and I just think that the strategy. First of all, the strategy going forward is you just keep throwing pucks at him. He's going to let out his rebounds. He may be reading the game well, but I don't know. Like, I'm no goaltender expert, but I wonder where he's going to be at technically as this series goes on. And I thought the Flames did a better job of getting into his lanes. And if he can't see it, he can't stop it. Just that simple.
Yep. He's a young goalie. He's only 23. Halfway through the game, the Flames had 30 shots.
Yeah,
which is unbelievable. And just you're right, Kev. Keep on peppering him. Near the end of the game, I don't know if anybody noticed this, or maybe a few people did, but when he went down for a butterfly save, you could tell he wasn't laboring to get up because he was injured. He was laboring to get up because he was tired.
Yeah,
peppering him and keep on shooting that puck and keep him busy is going to be the best way to break him down. Because if he's only getting 25 shots a game, and that's not been the case, Calgary's been pretty good at getting at least a little bit more. But I can't imagine that 4-minute shift or 4+ minute shift for those that Dallas Stars lineup there. I can't imagine how he was feeling, because there's no stoppage in play until there's that icing. And then, of course, unfortunately, Majipani decided to put his stick in between Jason Robertson's legs and basically killed that momentum. But for Oettinger, I'm 100% on the same page as you. Pepper him, keep getting pucks to the net, keep getting bodies in front, and your chances will come. 5-on-5, Calgary is a better team, and we saw that last night. I tweeted this out last night as well. That was the best 60-minute effort that Calgary has played this series. And if they replicate that or come close to replicating that, they will win this series.
Well, we even said this after Game 3. We all said it. The Flames play their game; they're fine. They haven't played their game for the most part for the last two games.
Yeah,
really. So when they're on it, it's going to be fine. By the way, here's another significant something that's fast. There's 2 other adjustments here. I just want to look at something here. Shots on goal from defense on Saturday as a total of 11, which Michael Stone almost beat by himself. But shots on, okay, make sure I got this right here. Last night, there was a total of 8, 16, 21, 23 shots from the defenseman. And I know that there's some people that think that the point shot is irrelevant to the game, but this last thing was an evidence that the point shot is not irrelevant to the game. And Tanev has a good enough shot that it can, he can take a couple more shots. I mean, only 1 shot on goal, and we love Chris Tanev, but a couple more shots from him. Rasmus has a pretty good shot. We talk about Michael.
Sorry, Tanev's shot was on that 3-on-1.
Yeah.
You're right. His shot isn't hard, but it's accurate and it gets through, and that's all that matters.
Yeah,
that's all that matters. And that was my. Obviously, having Stone in was very prominent within last night's game, and he made a lot of shots towards that net, and I believe 2 or 3 of them were actually blocked as well. So I think he had 10 or 11 shot attempts on 8 shots that actually hit the net. But all you have to do is just get pucks on net. That's all you have to do. And you're right. Chris Tanev can do that.
Yeah. I also wouldn't mind a little bit more seeing what Jake Ottinger can do. I don't see him handling the puck much. I wonder if that's another thing that you can get Ottinger a little bit busy on too. The Stars defense has done a pretty good job of boxing the Flames out in general. I don't think the Stars defense has been. I don't think Rick Boudis was happy with anybody last night from that media availability that. The way he's talking, but just keep Ottinger busy. He's had a pretty enjoyable experience during these playoffs or the first 4 games here. Just keep him busy. Just keep him busy doing whatever he needs to do.
And I'm going to take that one step further. Is you need to make sure that defense is tired. The way that the Stars play is very, very taxing to be that defensively sound and to not have any leaks. And once again, if it kind of bleeds out to the way that Calgary played last night, which was relentless on the forecheck and putting shots on net. And once you have that relentless forecheck, that's why that 4.5 minute shift was what happened for Klingberg and that top unit of Pavelski, Robertson, and Hintz, is because of that forecheck. And so within that, once the defense is tired and not really thinking the same way and not reacting the same way as they would if they were close to 100% or not as tired, then they'll have defensive breakdowns. That is when you strike. And easily enough, Jake Ottinger, he's a good goalie, good young goalie, but he's not that good. The reason why he's looking as good as he is because that defense group or the top 4 at least, are that good. Esa Lindell, Ryan Suter, John Klingberg, and Miro Heiskanen, those top 4 have done an amazing job at staying structured in Bonus's system. So break them down, and you'll get opportunities at Ottinger.
Yeah. And Heiskanen, by the way, 2 assists, +2, 4 shots on goal, 2 hits, 2 blocks, 2 giveaways, 1 takeaway in game 3. Game 4, his line was, let me go here. Good podcasting, Kevin. No points, 3 shots on goal, 1 hit, 4 blocks, 3 giveaways, 1 takeaway.
And 1 off the bar.
Yeah.
And that was a dangerous.
He's got a deadly dangerous shot. It's not. I don't think it would win a hardest shot. It might win the smartest shot competition.
Go back to Ray Bourque at the All-Star game, winning that accuracy. I don't know if you remember that. That was back, early 2000s, before he retired, or maybe it was even late 90s. Anyways, the biggest thing in the defensive zone that Calgary needs to watch out for is not puck watching, because there's too many times. Well, maybe not so much last game, but the 2 games before, at least, game 2 and 3, there's too much puck watching in our defensive zone, leaving trailers from the Stars coming into their offensive zone wide open, and there was a few butt puckering moments there from the Flames. But to your point, you shut down Heiskanen, and that defense, they don't do much. John Klingberg is known for being offensive, but I'd say he's not mediocre at both, at offensive defense, but I don't think he's as good as people make him out to be.
Yeah, and especially again, if you can wear him down, he's definitely not as good defensively. And remember, he came into this series coming off of an injury, so I don't think it would be a bad thing to work on him and Heiskanen. Heiskanen's coming off mononucleosis. I think people just underestimated him because they don't look at he's not in, like right now, he's not in a Norris Trophy conversation. He's not in the Makar Yossi conversation. Hedman, he's not in right now in that top defenseman conversation because he didn't play enough games probably. But he's still, to me, a really elite defenseman. I mean, I think he's probably had a little bit of a step back here, but I still, if Miro Heiskanen was on the Flames, I would not be opposed.
No, I think you have 31 other teams that would say the exact same thing. And he is a world. He's in my mind top 10 in the world as far as having a complete 200-foot game, good defensively, good offensively, and I just looked up the time on ice for that fourth line, or the third defensive pairing of Hakanpää and Hanley. Hakanpää had 11 minutes and 32 seconds. Just over two of that was shorthanded, and you had Hanley at 10 minutes and 46 seconds, and a minute 44 was shorthanded. 5-on-5, if you, once again, just hammering down our point, if you hammer those top four, the Stars don't have a chance.
Yeah. And, their top six, I think they'll need, I mean, they're going to have to get more from here. Hintz, I think, if I can be bold here, I think Hintz, Seguin, and Ben have generally been invisible in this series.
I don't think Hintz is 100%. He's better than what he's shown. I don't know what's going on with him. He's not skating with his head up and proud. He's, how Jack Eichel has a very distinctive skating stride, and I know that Merrick has said that he looks like a raptor out there, just with his head up straight, kind of like that. And Hintz has a very similar kind of skating stride and very uniqueness to the way that he conducts himself on the ice. I haven't seen that. He was 33% in that faceoff dot last night. That's not good enough.
Leads to the other adjustment. Faceoffs, Calgary much better. Everybody was much better. It was so the total yesterday. And by the way, I agree with you. 56 to 44%. Backlund was 59%. Lindholm 71%. Trevor Yarncrow 50%. Yarncrow has been consistent at the faceoff circle. That's the one thing at least I'll give him. And Lewis was 20%. Lewis didn't have wasn't great, but Blake Coleman was 100%. So much better in the faceoff circle.
Definitely. And the best way you can start a play is with possession.
Yeah. If you have the puck, the other team can't score. That's analysis, Devin. That is analysis.
Now that is great podcasting, Kev. Yes.
Yes. That's why I call myself the Trevor Lewis of podcasting. Just put in the work. I thought the other thing that the Flames defense did really well last night was contain Pavelski, and he didn't allow for a lot of those tips and things that he's known for. They did a really good job on that, and they're going to have to do that again. Because listen, Joe Pavelski, when it is important, Joe Pavelski will be there, and Game 5 is going to be an important game. I think that this intensity of this series is going to go up. It's because if you're Calgary, you don't want to go down 3-2. If you're Dallas, you don't want to go home. You want to go up 3-2 and see if you can wrap this up in Dallas. But try not to come back and get to Calgary.
To your point, Joe Pavelski did not get a shot last night.
Yeah.
So it was a great job containing him and making sure he's not an impact. I do want to go and talk about the two top line centers for the Calgary Flames. Elias Lindholm, I have a massive man crush on that man, not just because of his looks, but because of his play on the ice. I cannot get enough of this kid. I truly believe he's the best value in the NHL for what he brings on, off the ice. His shot is amazing. His defensive play is it should be. And I really hope once we see the Selke candidates come out, he's fucking on there. Because if he's not, that's a crying shame. And I truly believe he will, though.
He will be, and I don't care. I don't care how much you tell me about the legend of Patrice Bergeron. Lindholm should win it, flat out.
Absolutely, 100%. And he played amazing last night. Obviously, another snipe with that quick release. Even seeing that in real time, it doesn't make sense how fast he can get that off, especially with his Brett Hall flex in his stick, which is 60.
Yeah,
that is unbelievable. Unbelievable how effective he is with the 60 flex. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, go to any sports goods store. And I know that the good majority of our listeners do understand hockey and played hockey. But for those of you who don't, go check out a 60 flex stick. Lean on it just a little bit. Don't do it a lot because you'll be buying a brand new stick if that's the case. But it is unbelievably whippy and flexible. It is stupid that he's playing with that.
Yeah, he does what he does very well.
And unless you want to talk about Lindholm.
Well, I just have forgive me for the silly technical question, but like in the face-off circle, how effective is it in he's 71%. I'm almost answering my question, but a lot of people talk about that for the shot, but I wonder what it does in the face-off circle.
He just has to have that bottom hand low. That's the only way that he can he'll be able to win, because if it's even like halfway down the shaft, it's not going to be effective. It's going to be very hard. But if you then I urge you then, Kev, to when you see Lindholm lining up for a face-off, look how low that stick is, or that hand is on that stick, because you need to have the leverage and trust that you're going to be able to get that out. But he's pretty low down. Yep. And then Backlund, I think he's gotten better I think he's gotten better since game one. Every single game has been a step in the right direction. I was very critical of him in the first game. Second game, he's better. Third game, he's better. Even last night was his best game of the series. And I think that kind of shows, to your point, Kev, you've talked about this a few times. If Michael Backlund isn't going, the Calgary Flames aren't as effective as they normally are. And Michael Backlund last night, he was effective. He got the empty net goal. Yes, but I even think that's well-deserved for what he did for the Flames.
Yeah, that was probably his best playoff game I've ever seen him play. And he's been a controversial figure in this playoffs within the Flames fan base, but when Michael Backlund's on, it's hard to beat the Flames. It really is. And I think part of the problem with Backlund is I think right now there's so much, he's putting so much on his shoulder that he's I need to, be better. And I think that this is I think that this is that veteran presence. And we had the conversation after game 3 about the idea that the Flames didn't have a skilled guy with playoff experience. And I do think that there's an issue here, and we'll get to that in a second. But I think the fact that the veteran presence is maybe went and told Backlund, you don't need to do everything, just be Michael Backlund. And if you're Michael Backlund, we're fine.
Yep. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. And because I think that the other thing here, and I thought Rasmus Andersson, that was his best game of this series, but it was something I was thinking about a little bit. We're watching a number one. Is it fair to say that Rasmus Andersson's the number one defenseman on this team?
Yes, I think so. The consistency that he brings in comparison to Noah Hannafin, for sure.
Okay. So when I bring this up, as I drink water here, we are watching a number one defenseman play playoff games for the first time as a number one defenseman. And I do think that there is an adjustment there. Because the games get more intense, you're matched up against some of the top forwards. it becomes a lot bigger, and Rasmus Andersson is expected to do a lot of things. He's quarterback in the power play from the defensive position. Him and Hannafin have to be that same pair. This is a learning curve for Rasmus Andersson. And it's a learning curve, I think, for a lot of number one defensemen. We don't talk about this a lot, but I was thinking about this last night because I'm a nerd and think about these things. You look at Cale Makar, and Cale Makar has probably been the best player in the playoffs so far, probably by a good country mile. But Cale Makar had playoff experience behind him. When he has some playoff experience. I think Rasmus Andersson is learning on the fly. This is his first playoff experience, and there's a lot of expectation of Rasmus Andersson to jump in and be this elite defenseman in a playoff when he doesn't necessarily have the experience there for it, and he's learning on the fly. I don't think he's been. I thought he had his best game 4 for sure. I think he struggled, but I think there's part of that is there's a learning curve with Rasmus Andersson here.
Absolutely. It's hard to ramp things up and be ready for the prime time, especially with having fans. Yeah. I think that you really that's very underrated, how effective having fans in the stands, whether at home or on the way, is, depending on how you react to those situations. Rasmus Andersson, and I also think that it's not a forego number one. I think even you asking that to me, whether or not he is or not, I think that's beneficial for him. Because if he was a bona fide number one and he's not producing and has all that weight on his shoulders, then yeah, I think you really start questioning what if he is or not. But I've said this since midway through the season, is that this defensive 6 and now 7 has all done it by committee.
Yeah, and
not having to rely on the top 4 defense is massive, and I think that's where Dallas's downfall is going to be, is because they don't trust Hanley and Hakanpää to Hakanpää, yes, to have those heavy lifting minutes. So yeah, it's really impressive to see Rasmus Andersson gain that confidence slowly, and yes, every single game he's gotten better. And yeah, I'm happy for the guy, and if he can continue on this trajectory, I think it's going to be amazing to see what he can do.
And I know he played in the bubble a couple of years ago, but he missed last year. I just think that there's still a learning curve here
for sure.
Yeah. What else was I gonna?
Well, I'll step in. Okay, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
As Dylan Dylan's a chirper. Dylan is our chirper. Andre Majipani played 10 minutes. And again, I feel like I'm the only human on this planet that believes that Daryl Sutter doesn't have as high of opinion of Andre Majipani as everyone, as the fan base does. I don't think he truly cares that Majipani scored 35 goals. I think he is expecting a lot more from Andre Majipani, and that's why he's getting 10 minutes.
Yeah,
there's a very interesting, when we get to the off season, which hopefully is a long time from now, there's a very interesting conversation around this. But I do think he needs to step up.
He absolutely does. He needs to show that he can produce at this time of year, and he's not a fish out of water or anything like that. He's been okay, but he's not been a good enough and reliable enough for Daryl Sutter to trust him. Daryl Sutter trusts Lucic and Trevor Lewis over Majipani right now. And that was shown obviously with his minutes last night, but he only had 2 shifts in the third period. And he was stapled to the bench otherwise. And I believe that he can do it. It's just, I don't know. Here's a hot take. I don't know if we see him if they go 12 forwards. I don't know if we see him back in the lineup for Game 5.
Okay, so let's play this out.
Okay.
Okay, so our lines would be, I think, Lindrom, Gaudreau, Toffoli, Backlund, Kachuk, and who?
Coleman.
Okay, and then you're going Yarncrow, Dubé, and
Brett Ritchie.
And the
actually, well, one of those. So you're going with just 11 forwards then, correct? Or are we doing 12?
If you're going 12, well, if you're scratching Majipani, you're putting Adam Rosic in the lineup. Are you seeing Adam?
No. So just 11 forwards. If they go 11 forwards again, my hot take is that Majipani is going to be out. So you would have for that third line, I think you can insert player here of Lucic, Lewis, or Richie.
I'm not sure I'm there. I'm almost. It's an interesting proposal.
Now, I'm just looking back into.
If you lose that game without Andre Mangiapane, you are facing a hell of a heat and makes contract negotiations very interesting in the offseason. I'm just putting that out there.
Brett Ritchie in Game 3 almost had the same amount of ice time as Majipani did. I know that this probably won't happen, but if it does, I will not be surprised. Because how effective is, especially with 11 forwards, Majipani only playing 2 shifts? How effective is that? If Daryl Sutter does not trust Andrew to step up and be the player that he thinks or that would benefit the Calgary Flames, he has high regard for Brett Ritchie. He really does.
Let me ask you this differently, though. So if the score was 1-0 Dallas, how much is Andrew playing?
Sorry, say it one more time. You broke up.
If Dallas is up 1-0 heading into the third period, how much is Mangiapane playing?
You got to hope that he's playing. Oh man, I don't even know. Maybe 4 minutes, maybe in that period, because it depends on. It also depends on how well he's played those prior 2 periods. Because Daryl Sutter, he'll play the players that are actually playing well, and that's right now he trusts Lewis, who he's won a cup with twice. He trusts Lucic, who he's won a cup with. Oh no, Lucic and Daryl have not won a cup, but he trusts those type of.
No, they did win a cup together, didn't they?
In LA?
No, he didn't. You're right. Sorry.
Yeah. But those type of players, and Brett Ritchie's one of them, right? So I'm just going off the top of my head. It makes sense, but it doesn't make sense, obviously, because Majipani can provide that offense, but he hasn't shown that he can, and that you also want to make sure he does have confidence, Majipani to give Majipani confidence and not bench him. So I don't think it will happen, but if it does, I won't be surprised.
I just don't think that Daryl is completely. I mean, analytics aside, I brought this up a couple months ago, and I felt like I sort of got the feeling that it may have felt like a ridiculous question. But the reason I asked that is I just don't think Daryl trusts Mangiapane defensively. I just don't think. And I'm not saying that I think Mangiapane's defensive. This is not what I'm saying. I'm not saying Mangiapane's defensive game is bad, but I don't know if Daryl trusts Mangiapane defensively. That's my sense. That's my read on the situation.
It's interesting because I remember you bringing that up, and my counter to that was, well, why would you have a non-defensive player playing with Michael Backlund as your shutdown line?
But they don't really use a shutdown philosophy, though. They don't have a shutdown line philosophy. They roll 4 lines. If the Flames are effective, they just roll 4 lines.
Yes, but at the same time, I think that they do have, if there's a defensive zone draw, wouldn't you think they would have Backlund out there good more so than not? And I don't know the analytics on that. And I know that if we had Sean on here, he'd be able to fish that out a little bit. But that's just my opinion, because Backlund isn't like, he's a good 200-foot player, but he's more defensive than offensive. Right.
And they're a lot of the zone. I remember from game one that most of the faceoffs with the Backlund line was doing that in the defensive zone. I'm just looking at this from Daryl's perspective. That's to me my read is he's not trusting Andrew in specific lockdown defensive situations, and that's where he's not playing Andrew.
Yep. And like when Calgary's up, yeah, why would you have him out there if you don't trust him? And I think it was a combination. If that is the case, it is a combination between him not having a good game and obviously within not having a good game, meaning that he's not creating offensive chances. But at the same time, if you can't trust him defensively while you're up by 2 or 3 and back to 2 goals, then yeah, why would you play him?
I don't think the fans are. I mean, I don't think Daryl cares, but the fans don't see Richie. They certainly don't love the Lewis, Lucic, Richie combination the way that Daryl does. And I thought, another friend of our podcast, Peter Labardia, said yesterday he saw some tweets that he felt that the fourth line was getting ventilated and had to leave Twitter.
I agree with that.
Leaving Twitter?
No, they have to leave Twitter because those takes are outrageous. I mean, yes, okay, you want to take some analytic stats. What about the eye test? What about it? Because in my mind, that fourth line, or well, let's put it this way: Lewis and Lucic are two of the most reliable players on this team.
Yeah, I agree, and I don't think that they were getting like. I don't think they were getting ventilated. Not the way that I see it, and I mean, I didn't dig into the analytic numbers because I just look at Devin. I know I'm weird, but I look at the meat and potatoes of this. I look at giveaways, takeaways, block shots, and what's the final score? Like another tangent. I like even expected goals. I just find that whole number around that weird. Like it's not the final score of 4 expected goals to 3 expected goals. It's how many goals are in the net. I'm weird. I know I'm weird, but
no, I think there's something to that though, and I think there's a happy medium of analytical stats in comparison to what the meat and potatoes eye test is, and I don't think it's 50-50. I'd say it's probably more 70-30 or 75-25 in favor of eye test. But the reality is that agents use those numbers to have leverage within contract negotiations, right?
Yes, for sure.
And Andrew Majipani, his analytics offensively look pretty damn good on 5-on-5 expected goals this year and last year.
And he got off to such an incredibly, like Oliver Shillington, he got off to an amazing start. He really, I mean, unbelievable. Yeah. And then he slowed down, and then he regressed to the mean. Mm-hmm. And I think we're seeing what Andrew Majipani is. And I'll save my opinion. You brought this up, and I don't think that people. I think some people may have an eyeballs, but I think that there's an interesting question around the off. Again, hopefully the off season's a long way away, but there's an interesting question around Andrew Mangiapane and what you do with him in the off season.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah, to me, with the Flames, is there anything else that we need to discuss before we give the W?
Yeah, you sent out the podcast sent out Shifts and Pucks podcast sent out a tweet last night. Rate the Flames Game 4 performance. It was a W or A, which was 77.8%. B got 0%. C for their grade got 11.1, along with D and F got 11.1. Let me tell you something. Whoever, it could be just trolls that are out there that aren't really understanding, but just wanting to fuck up a poll for whatever reason. But whoever's saying that the Flames is a C, D, or F, give your fucking head a shake. All right. If that is a serious thought process, why and how are they getting that type of a letter, a grade? That's absolute obscene. It's stupid. And at me all you want, message me, because I want to hear your side of things and understand why you think that way. And because the last night, like I said, was the best 60-minute performance the Flames have had this postseason. Yes, it wasn't offensively driven too much, but what the fuck are you looking for? I'm sorry.
No, I get it. I get it. It's. I think some people are trolling, and we're trying to do our best to promote ourselves as a podcast, and we're trying to do things. And some people are just, unfortunately, there are a couple of jerks out there. Not everybody, but
it's a good poll. There's nothing wrong with the poll. It's people who think that the Flames did shitty last night as a C, D, or F grade. That's bullshit.
Yeah,
that is complete and utter bullshit.
All right. Well, who gets the W?
Oh, my W goes to my man, Elias Lindholm. I like I said, big man crush on this guy. He played amazing last night. Very steady, good in the faceoff dot. Once again, another goal. The things that he does on the defensive side of the ice is I don't think goes as noticed as even though we're talking about a potential Selke candidate. I don't think it has noticed and isn't praised enough on Calgary Flames end, because he does this game in and game out and everybody expects him to do it. But the fact that he still does it on a consistent basis, and especially in the playoffs, because he's been in the bubble, he wasn't really noticeable. But now he's solidifying himself to being a playoff performer, and God, it's fun to watch.
Yeah, he's been phenomenal. My W is going to Johnny Gaudreau. I think I said it before. He was starting to get it together. I really started to believe that, and he did last night. I mean, I'm glad he's all right, first of all, but the penalty shot, the 5 on the penalty shot. There's going to be 3 significant things I think when we look back in this series, in this game. Maybe those turning points: the penalty shot goal after Johnny had the breakaway late in game 3 that could have tied it, and he said he was tired. And he got the penalty shot, and he continues to be engaged. He was dancing around. He has 200-foot game and continues to impress. To me, it was Johnny for me. I thought he was the best. I thought he gets my W just overall. One honorable mentions to, again, Lewis, Lucic again, and Backlund, I thought, and Toffoli, I thought did some work. And I want to also give a credit to Calle Jarnkrok. I thought he had one of his that was his best game this series. But I went
best game as a Flame.
I actually, that's legit accurate, very accurate there actually. But I thought I would give it to Johnny. That 5-on-3, that shift, that 5-minute shift, and that penalty shot. I wonder if they become when we look back at the series. I wonder if we look at those as defining moments. There's still a long way to go. This could still go 7. I'm not giving anything to anybody here. We're tied at 2, but yeah, Johnny for me.
Nice. Yeah. I don't think we talked about him other than him getting hit in the head and his breakaway, which was penalty shot, which was damn sweet and clutch. He played a hell of a game, and he was dancing around like he normally was, which is a nice change to see.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's move on to some of the other series, and let's start in Toronto here. And you're up 2-1, and then Tampa Bay. And we talked about it. It was expected that Tampa. I don't know if there are any Leaf fans that were expecting a sweep or a 3-1 series lead at this point. Then obviously you don't know the Tampa Bay Lightning. Let me just start there. They are the 2-time Stanley Cup champions. It's going to be a battle. Wouldn't be surprised if Game 7 hits overtime. It's going to be that close. I think these games are going to start to get closer. But prime target number 1 is Justin Holl. And Justin Hall's playing tonight. Timothy Liljegren is not playing tonight. Sheldon Keefe defended Justin Holl. Leafs Nation went nuts. My theory on Justin Holl is, and this is probably an off-season conversation, but he reminds me a little bit of Tyson Barrie. In that Tyson Barrie, once he got out of Toronto, he was able to find his footing. I'm not saying that Tyson Barrie is a very good NHL defenseman, but I think that he finds his footing. And I think that I could see that with Justin Holl. I think if he goes elsewhere, I think he will be fine being who he is. It's almost in a little bit of a way, like I don't see the potential in Justin Holl that Luke Schenn had when he started, because Luke Schenn had higher expectations, but it's almost a Luke Schenn situation where getting out of Toronto might be a help for him.
Yeah. He struggled this past year and a half to 2 years, and his coming out party was the year before that, and he played very well with Jake Muzzin, and now I think it's kind of coming back down to earth a little bit. I do agree with you. I think that some players have a hard time playing in those big markets like Toronto, well, especially Toronto, the fishbowl that is Toronto. And I think that, yeah, if he goes to a Carolina or somewhere where it isn't as prominent, and you're not walking around and people recognize you, there's less pressure, that it'd be beneficial for him for sure. And yeah, definitely a good offseason. Good off-season conversation. But I'm going back to the series, I really do. I think what's frustrating for Maple Leafs fans is that the inconsistencies from game to game. And last game, they did not come out hard whatsoever. It's almost like they didn't expect Tampa to push back as much as they did, and that was a big mistake on the Leafs. And I don't think that's Sheldon Keefe's fault. I think Sheldon Keefe probably did the right messages, but the players didn't listen to him. Is my speculation. And realistically, Jack Campbell needs to be better. The inconsistencies of from game 3 to 4 was apparent and very blatantly bad. if that's proper English, I don't think it is, but they definitely need to come out hard today. And I think that first goal is massive. Once they have that first goal, I think they might be okay. Not saying that Tampa won't be able to push back, because they are a 2-time Stanley Cup champion for a reason. So you really just want to make sure you start hard and keep the lines rolling from there, because obviously not line rolling, but you want to make sure that everybody gets in the game and gets a feel for it. Because if you start getting a penalty trouble and you're playing the PK, Austin Matthews isn't going to get on the ice, and he's not going to be able to get in his groove and get moving. So just want to make sure that top line is rolling, and they get touches, so that they have that confidence.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe we'll quickly do this here. I know, apologies if you have to go here pretty quick, but is there any other particular series that you finding?
Well, Florida is interesting. You would have thought that with the way that the Caps have played coming into the playoffs here, that Florida would have been rolling a little bit more. especially with you not knowing who the number one goalie is in Washington, and Ovi with his little bit of an injury coming in, that especially with the depth that Florida has, that they'd be a lot better off than they have been. But props to Washington. They've pushed back hard and well, and very interested to see that series and how well that goes. And with the Penguins, Louis Domingue, what a great story that's been. I hope that I'm a big Pittsburgh fan. If Crosby gets another cup, I won't be upset. You really just hope that Louis Domingue can weather the storm before Tristan Jarry gets back from his fractured foot.
Yeah. For me, that Oshie Bennett hit, I think, is going to be that was controversial for sure. Washington's giving them a run. The Oilers have a big game tonight against the Kings for sure. Not getting a goal. And I think St. Louis, Minnesota, that's going to be a lot of fun. That will be it'll be a very fun series. But maybe.
And with that series as well, how does it feel that this game's probably going to go 6 or 7 games, as Colorado is going to get another 7+ days of rest before they meet either one of those teams in the playoffs? That's grueling.
I will say this though, a sweep does not always guarantee that you're going to automatically advance versus a team that wins 7. So I have to look at the numbers, because there's been times like it's rest versus rhythm.
Yep. And that's a great point too. You just got to think that Colorado with the rest is going to still come out okay. But you are right. There's been times in the past where that hasn't been the case.
Well, Colorado's been outstanding, and Kemper will be healthy for that for sure. But a quick look around draft lottery tonight, and maybe we'll chat with that more on tomorrow or on Thursday. Thursday is our recap, right?
Yeah.
Okay, my day's confused. So we'll chat about that on Thursday, and then we'll chat a little bit more. Maybe we'll dig into the Barry. Where does Barry go? Well,
yeah. Well, I mean, we can do that right now. That's fine.
Okay. Oh, sorry. I thought you were in a little bit of time, but
yeah. I got a bit of time here. Barry Trotz obviously got let go from the New York Islanders. Lou Amarillo had his press conference about it, saying that I don't want to talk about the reasons behind it. I'm kind of curious, and I mean, Lou Amarillo is going to be very tight-lipped within this as well. Anyways, he always is. He's not one to talk about anything to the press, and anything that gets leaked out, he's not happy about. So, which is very surprising, actually, because there's kind of 2 stories here. I feel like I'm just taking over here, Kev. My apologies.
Go ahead.
But you look at the Islanders, and they overachieved, I think, under Barry Trotz, just because of how old that team is. The fact that they didn't keep Devon Taves, I think that was a big miss on Lamoriello's part. And look, like if you go to their cap friendly page and take a look at their how their contracts and what ages those players are. You have Anders Lee, who's 31. You have him for another 5 years, 4 years after this. You have Brock Nelson, who's 30. You have him for another 3. Kyle Palmieri, another 3 years, and he's 31. Pajot's 30 or 29 with another 4. Josh Bailey, he's 32 with another 2. You have Casey Zizekas for another, it looks like 7 or 6 years after this. It's just, you go down the list of long, big contracts with long term, and it doesn't look good. It does not look good. So to me, it's not. I'm kind of an asterisk beside Barry Trotz, but Lou Lamoriello, what are you doing here? It feels like your team underperformed this year. Yes, your team had some injuries this year as well. Yes, but look at the contracts that you signed. It doesn't look good. It really doesn't. And I guess I'll get you to react before I go off on where Barry Trotz goes. But what do you think about the Islanders this year? Like, why did this happen?
Well, I think that what happened, in start, they had that long road trip. I don't think that helped. The COVID situation, I think a lot of people felt that they didn't handle that as well as other teams did. And like they had to play through COVID, and whether other teams were shut down. And I think some people felt that they needed to fight that a little bit more. I'll tell you one guy that I do not expect to be back with the Islanders next year. I expect Matthew Barzal. This is hot. This is my hot take for the day. Matthew Barzal may not be an Islander next year. I am very curious about that relationship between Barzal and Trotz, because I heard that from what my reading, I'm not an insider, but they did not sound like they were on the same page. And that's Barzal might be a guy that may need a change of scenery.
He might, and that might be one of the reasons why they moved on from Trotz, is because most recently they had the player exit interviews with, or Lou Lamoriello did with the players, and that could have been a good possibility that Trotz wore thin there on the island. So who the hell knows? But as far as where does Trotz land, I think the first place that I thought of is the good old Winnipeg Jets. I truly believe that he would do well there. Whether or not they have Mark Scheifele at the beginning of next year, because it sounds like there might be some turmoil between Scheifele and the players, and it sounds like him and Wheeler might be on an island within that locker room. So it can be very interesting to see what. By the way, Kevin Cheveldayoff getting another contract extension doesn't make any sense to me either. Sounds like the ownership group there with True North is very loyalty based within their decisions, and especially with Paul Maurice, him stepping back, not from the ownership, but himself. He said that he needs the locker room needs a different voice. So I can definitely see that Barry Trotz being a very good fit there. He'd be going home. He's a Manitoba boy. And fun little fact with Barry Trotz is that my fiance's aunt used to date him.
Oh, wow. Well,
a little beside the point of what we're trying to get at, but I thought I'd put that in there.
Interesting. And then I just, I looked at, here I am. On one hand, I'm putting the Trotz and Barzal feud. Maybe there was a feud. And then I have a series of a trade. Barzal for Scheifele.
It depends on what.
Scheifele's making 6.1 for 3 years before he's a UFA. Barzal 1 more year at $7 million, and then he's an RFA. And I don't think off the top of my head, I can't see the Islanders wanting to pay $7 million to Barzal. That's just not, and it doesn't seem like the Lou Lamoriello way. I wonder if there's something there.
Well, if the Islanders are in win now mode, which it seems like they are, especially with those contracts and how old those players are, being around 30, if not over 30. Yeah, that'd be a good trade-off, because you have cost certainty within that, but it really, it also comes down to the owner as well. What expectations does the owner have going into a brand new building on the island and not performing as well as they did? That says something. But then who do you choose to come in to on the island? Do you bring in Ale Vigneault?
The name I'm hearing is Lane Lambert, who is an assistant coach there. But...
Okay. That might be just an interim. Not to mention the amount of, if, say, for instance, I don't think this is going to be the case, but if Colorado somehow gets out and does not go to the Eastern Conference Final or the Stanley Cup Finals, I wonder if Jared Bednard would be on the hot seat there too, underperforming. And so what I'm trying to get at is that I think that there's still some balls to drop here, especially within some playoff teams that are still in it.
Yeah, maybe. I think there's a lot. We still are waiting for some coaching decisions to be made, and then a lot of course, we got the other team that we follow here. We're waiting on the decision for Bruce Boudreau, so we're waiting on that. I think the Flyers are going to be looking for a new coach. Of course, we got Winnipeg in that conversation. There may be a playoff team or two that are going to remove a coach based on how they do. So it is going to be fascinating. Just one name I want to toss out there as a potential trade option for somebody. Scott Mayfield makes $1.4 million and is a UFA in 2023-24.
That is a steal of a deal as well. Top 4 defenseman, gritty. Obviously, we don't know his analytics, but he's a hell of a player. And one other place that has a bright future and no coach is Stevie Yzerman in Detroit.
Yeah, I wonder where they go there.
And Trotz might be a good fit there for him. Everybody, as far as I know, everybody loves him. He's great in the room with his players for the majority of it, and that might be a really good landing spot for him. And there's also that Team Canada, Hockey Canada, connection between Yzerman and Trotz.
Yeah, that's possible too. It's interesting. Yeah, it does. It's interesting.
It is. Yep.
It'll be a fascinating offseason. Will be fascinating, which hopefully we are not getting there for a while.
I don't think we will.
Okay, I'll trust you on this. I'm still nervous, but I'll trust you on this. We did our Canucks recap. That will be our final Canucks specific episode for a while until we get some actual decisions coming out of Vancouver. But we're back on Thursday to recap Game 5 of Flames and Stars. Who is facing elimination? That will be the question. Who is heading to Dallas on Friday? By the way, Wednesdays and Fridays games have been moved to 6:30 Pacific, 7:30 Mountain, which should be a 7:50-ish start. So keep an eye out for that. Yeah. As I keep Devin from where he needs to go. But how do we follow you?
Follow me on Twitter at Gordhouse09. And if you are one of those people who voted C, D, or F, please message me. I would love to have a conversation.
Fair. Sean, Beardy Canuck 03, Tyler, TNOBLE, and then Chris Schneid's SCHNEIDZ. I am KVOLE. Also give Fireside Chat a follow. They will be joining us for some recaps, as well as they do their podcast every Sunday and they come out every Monday. I'll give them a retweet, follow them as well. And of course, subscribe wherever we are on all audio platforms, as well as on the Area 51 Sports Network. Thanks everyone for watching and listening as I butchered the extra, but that's okay. We'll talk to you all very soon. Bye for now.